horror has been an extremely popular genre for centuries now, and its manifestations in different art forms, such as those of literature, movies, etc., have attracted a huge audience around the world. The same is true of horror in video games. One could argue that horror in video games is much more impactful than horror in other art forms, such as in a book or a movie, since with horror games you control the actions of the character, and with each step you take, and each new door you open, you are aware of the nervous feeling that death or incapacitation might be right around the corner. In this way, horror games transport you directly into the atmosphere of the game, and you walk in the shoes of the character you're playing as, which makes things all the more nerve-wracking. First on our list is Sara Room, created by Rusty Lake, and released in April of 2020. Sara Room may appear, at first, to be a horror escape room game, with a maniacal villain having the time of their life, while you work hard to escape from the trap-laden room they've locked you in. The game is anything but that. In fact, halfway through the game, as soon as you enter through a hole behind a painting in the room, the game barely functions as an escape room game at all, and takes a very interesting, and some may say, haunting, turn. Although there is no straightforward horror in this game, no jump scares with demons or witches screaming in your face, the game is eerie and builds on that eeriness to give the player a deeply unsettling experience as they're playing the game. One instance of this is the beginning of the game when you are introduced to the room, and you see your shadowy reflection in the mirror in front of you. The user begins to wonder, is that me? Other questions such as what am I doing here? And where am I meant to go? Inevitably pop up as you continue playing the game. Another great aspect of the game, and one that has been lauded by critics, is that the game does not open itself up to the user, and doesn't make things easy for them, both in terms of gameplay and storyline. Although it may seem like there is no larger point the game is trying to make when you first begin playing Sara Room, there is an overarching theme that the game maintains, and the user must work hard to figure it out. The gameplay is quite simple and is similar to most other escape room games. You find items and test them out, and see if they lead you somewhere. However, given the story, the exceptional soundtrack that is both sad and unnerving, and the minimalist design of the game, Sara Room on PC creates a chilling effect, taking a sharp thematic turn from our previous game. Next on our list is Into the Dead 2. Zombie Survival, a 2017 release from Pickpock, which is the sequel to the zombie shooter Into the Dead, released in 2012. A first-person shooter game, Into the Dead 2. Zombie Survival on PC has a story mode that takes up the major chunk of the game. With 7 chapters and over 60 levels for the user to play through, there is a surprisingly engaging storyline that begins the way you'd expect any zombie survival game to begin, with a man finding out that zombies have begun taking over the world, and him embarking on a quest for survival along with his family. Gameplay for Into the Dead 2. Zombie Survival is pretty simple as well, with no option to look back, and limited mobility. You can only move from side to dodge zombies that you can then kill with your weapon. The game emphasizes accuracy, since you must reserve as much ammunition as you possibly can. This means no spraying down zombie hordes, as fun as that may sound, although there are turret gun sequences that allow you to do just that. The game also enables you to unlock animals who work with you and attack zombies in front of you in order to give you a higher chance of survival. Just like any other shooter game, you have the option to enhance your weapons and give them a boost, and there are also a variety of weapons for you to choose from. Side missions in the game take you on mini-adventures, withdrawn from the main storyline, and give you some variety in case you want to do something apart from playing the main storyline. The graphics are dark and murky and set the tone for what the game is going for. Although not a horror game in the strictest sense, it still contains many elements from the genre, and mixes it with the experience of a shooter game, which makes for an enjoyable gaming experience. I Am Innocent, released by Twinailblood, is a mystery game that revolves around a serial killer who needs to be brought to justice, and you, the user, are tasked with finding the incriminating evidence that will put this killer behind bars. The game begins with the user receiving a message from a protected number that asks the user to help them bring the serial killer Erwin Finch to justice. Finch, according to the person behind the protected number, is a killer who has somehow escaped the law and is not yet in prison for the crimes he has committed, and to make sure that nobody else is harmed by the actions of Finch, the stranger needs your help. What makes the plot even more interesting is that you are made aware that the killings of Finch are somehow connected with the sudden disappearance of your sister some years ago. An open-ended game, I Am Innocent on PC, has several endings, all of which play out depending on your choices in the game. Through the course of the game, your character also comes into contact with his ex-girlfriend and fixes the relationship between himself, his father, and his brother. The storyline is extremely intriguing, and the stakes are high, since your choices in the game make or break the outcome, and the only way for you to figure out which is the best option from the various choices provided to you is by analyzing the situation and hoping for the best. The game also provides several mini-games which involve hacking. Although monotonous, they increase in difficulty as you keep playing the game and become more and more interesting. The game uses a realistic mobile interface to make the gameplay experience more engaging, with a messenger system that is very similar to iMessage. The entirety of the game is based out of a mobile phone, which is not something you see every day with video games, especially with horror and psychological thriller games. The objective of I's Scary Thriller is extremely simple, too simple almost. All you need to do is break into an old house and take for yourself the bags of money lying scattered around the house. What isn't so simple, however, is escaping the ghost of the woman who lived in that house and whose money you are about to steal. As one would expect, the ghost isn't too happy about that and will try to kill you as soon as you begin snooping around on her property. The controls to the game are just as simple as the storyline. A virtual joystick on the left moves you front and back, and sliding your finger across the right side of the screen shifts your view from left to right, and vice versa. To inspect and pick up objects, you must simply tap on them. The game ends when you successfully escaped the ghost's clutches and stolen the number of bags allotted to you by your difficulty settings. As mentioned, I's Scary Thriller on PC is set in an old mansion, and it comes with all the atmospheric effects you'd expect from such a game. Rickety stairs, creaky doors, old grandfather clocks that tick on long after their owner has passed, and dark scummy rooms that you must inspect to find the bags of money you're after. In case you're not satisfied with this alone, the game also provides multiple levels, with an abandoned hospital and a desolate school making up the most interesting ones. You also have multiple game modes to play or endure, and all of them are just as scary as the main one. Unlike other games that give you a glimpse of the ghost or the monster that you're supposed to run from, I's gives you a full view into the horror of the ghost, and it is enough to make you want to shut your phone off for several hours and possibly never play the game again. The final game on our list is Detention, a horror game released by Red Candle in 2017, which is one of the first and only games to be based in Taiwan in the 1960s, during the White Terror. The game is extremely unique in many different ways, but the most intriguing thing of all is how central the location and setting are to the storyline and the gameplay. Politics, and the horrors it can incur on society, is a central part of Detention's story, and is just as horrifying, if not more, than the actual ghosts present in the game. The game subverts expectations in many different ways. It is a seemingly simple horror game in the beginning, with the user playing as a school student named Wei, who lurks across the school halls which are bleak and grey, and give off a sense of uneasiness. This is typical of horror games. But all this quickly changes when Wei abruptly dies, and the user realizes that the game is actually about Rei, a schoolgirl who is dealing with many different struggles, both at home and at school. All of this happens with the backdrop of military surveillance and political violence. The game gives us the idea that it is just as likely for Rei to be harmed by the military as it is for her to be harmed by the ghosts that haunt her school. This interplay of the personal, political, and the supernatural results in a brilliant game that overturns expectations and shocks players not just with jump scares, but also with the knowledge of the kind of horror that humans themselves are capable of. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video was helpful.